This video is looking at conclusions and reviewing what we know about them. So generally, the idea of a conclusion is the opposite of the intro, where you're starting specific and you're going to more general. The parts of the conclusion, you have the rephrasing or restating, or like I like to say, reverse the thesis, summarize your points, advice, and then prediction. So let's go through those points one by one, and then I'll give you an example. So first, reverse the thesis. My tip for that is to say your thesis backwards and to use synonyms. So again, the point is you're trying to not just repeat what you said for your thesis, but to change it up in some ways. Next part of the conclusion, you give advice, and I always suggest connecting whatever advice you're giving in your conclusion to what you brought up in your body paragraph points or the intro. This is how you have an excellent conclusion. And then also with your advice, you want to give your advice to a specific group of people, like parents or students or some group of people, and tell them specifically what to do. Lastly, prediction, give the results of your advice or if your advice is not taken. So here's an example. Pause the video and read it. All right, so first let's look at the first step, reversing the thesis, saying it backwards. So it was like the two major causes of obesity is harsh weather. And then in conclusion, this essay explained how abundance of fast food in restaurants and extreme weather are. So it took this thesis and it went backwards. As opposed to going this way, it went backwards. And then also has synonyms. With the advice, we have connected to the intro. It talks about creating awareness and education and knowledge in the intro. So here, that is the connection here. Specific group of people, the government. And then the how is how the government will do that thing. So most times students will say something very vague in general, like the government should help people, the government or parents need to teach their children. But then that asks the question, how? How do they do those great ideas? So for example here, health education through flyers, commercials, and school programs is specific on what they can do. Finally, the prediction or the results of the advice, which is here, example, the country of Kuwait could become one of the healthiest countries in the world, and an example of how to live a healthy life. So just to review, we looked at conclusions going from specific to general and the different parts, and I'm sure you guys are going to write some great essays.